Hi everyone, Broke-the-Knee Back Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new self-titled Purple Mountains album. This is a new debut full-length album from a recently formed band featuring Jeremy Earl and Stephen J. of Woods fame, also Kyle Forrester of Crystal Stilts. We also have Aaron Neveu and Anna St. Louis in the mix too. But the most notable name coming out of this album has to be its frontman, singer and songwriter Mr. David Berman, whose claim to fame is having once fronted the legendary lo-fi indie outfit Silver Jews. The band came to an uneventful end in the late 2000s, which is kind of sad considering it would have been nice to have David Berman's poetic, satirical, and very witty brand of songwriting with us over the past 10 years. It's just so frank and self-deprecating and cathartic. Surprisingly though, David's songwriting after about 10 years of not putting out any records is back in peak form, which again is kind of surprising, especially considering that the last couple of Silver Jews records were not exactly their best. Now, I don't know what's happened between now and the last Silver Jews album to create this change. Maybe David needed the time to kind of chill out and think things over and you know, just find more stuff to be depressed about. Maybe it's also the new backing band that's revitalizing things in a way, I don't know. What's for sure is they do sound pretty good, embodying the perfect mix of alt country and Americana and folk rock that Berman's songwriting shines over. The recording occasionally does have a sweet shimmer to it. The mix perfectly balances the guitars, the bass, the drums, the vocals, the complementary keys and strings. It's a little rustic, it's occasionally slightly lo-fi and just rough around the edges in a very nice way. Some instrumental palettes do sound eerily similar to something you would find on a Woods album, and considering the connections to the band Woods, that's not surprising. But as good as the instrumentals on this album tend to be, the selling point is ultimately David Berman's very sad sack songwriting, which only seems to have gotten more tragic with age. Whether he's singing about falling short with a love interest or his significant other, like on the track Darkness and Cold, where he writes, "The light of my life is going out tonight as the sun sinks in the west. The light of my life is going out tonight with someone she just met." That's pretty much the entire story of the song right there, but there are moments where David implies that this person is not just a crush, but someone who he is already romantically linked to. As they're going out without a flicker of regret, they're essentially cheating on him with whether there's I guess an acknowledgement of that or not. I feel like many of these same sentiments are echoed on the track She's Making Friends, I'm Turning Stranger as well, where David literally depicts himself turning into the anti-social weirdo in a relationship, while his significant other is a bubbly woman about town who everyone seems to like. And of course David views this as like a growing gap between them, as proof that like things are not functioning and he is not worthy of anything other than loneliness. In pure Silver Jews fashion, David does bring some alt country ballads that are so sad they hurt, and his lyricism allows you though to, I guess, laugh through the pain, like on the song Maybe I'm the Only One for Me. Instrumentally, it sounds like something a bar band from, I don't know, down south, or just in the middle of the desert might be rocking on a weekend night. Meanwhile, the lyrics show David really taking himself down a peg or two. I'll put my dreams high on a shelf. I'll have to learn to like myself. And in maybe one of the wittiest lines of the year, if no one's fond of fucking me, maybe no one's fucking fond of me. Some of it is so good, you will wish that you wrote it. However, you will not wish to be brought to the emotional place that drives you to think and feel this way. And of course, I don't say that to downplay David's unhappiness, but just to acknowledge that a lot of people take songs like these as entertainment, and just strictly entertainment, without really analyzing or acknowledging the painfully sad emotions that may go into tracks and thoughts and feelings like these. The song That's Just the Way I Feel is more jaunty, alt country, where David essentially opens the track up lyrically with a bit of an update that has brought him to this point where he is making a new record. Well, I don't like talking to myself, but someone's got to say it, hell. I mean, things have not been going well. This time I think I really fucked myself. You see, the life I live is sickening. I spent a decade playing chicken with oblivion. Day to day, I'm neck and neck with giving in. I'm the same old wreck. I've always been. The refrain, the thematic sentiment of the song too, the end of all wanting is all that I've been wanting, is kind of chilling and haunting as well, not only in its desire for some kind of sweet serenity, but when you analyze that line deeper, it's pretty morbid too. There are some points on this record where I think the lyrics are a bit too on the nose, like on the track All My Happiness Is Gone or on I Love Being My Mother's Son, which does have a very deeply moving sentiment to it, but the lyrics of the song are so frank and so loose that it might as well be David just kind of saying these words off of the top of his head like just stream of consciousness, which for me personally is not as desirable as some of the more tightly written poetry he features on other points of the record. On the song Snow is Falling in Manhattan, the production, in my view, is a little off. It's kind of washed out, a little too reverby. I think a lot of the guts of David's songwriting and just, again, the instrumental generally is kind of lost in the haze. There are some other highlights on the record, though, like Margaritas at the Mall, the very dark and a little dramatic horns on the chorus of this track are amazing. The driving beat and colorful pedal steel in the instrumental as well are nice. The lyrics of the song are essentially about living this sad, absurd reality and juxtaposing that against the, I guess, inaction or non-existence of God. The song Nights That Won't Happen is the lengthiest track on the entire record. It is absolutely haunting in its dissection of death and how the suffering is mainly done by the people that passed on loved ones leave behind. I've been listening to David's music for a long time, that and the music of many artists who he's inspired over the years, like Conor Oberst of Bright Eyes. But this is one of the most profoundly sad songs I think David has ever written or even inspired over the course of his career. His steady vocals on the track make him feel like a trusty narrator across this meditation on death, but simultaneously there are points in his singing where he gets a bit shaky, like he's just on the verge of breaking down. Overall, I think this is a very solid and enjoyable effort from Purple Mountains. I hope that David doesn't disappear into the ether for a long time once again, and he continues to stay engaged with music, because this was a really great return. A treat. I would say for any David Berman or Silver Jews fan up until this point, what this album brings is, yes, kind of predictable, nothing too risky or outside of the norm, but it is done well. The songs, for the most part, are very good. The instrumentals have a very lovely and tasteful country folk flair. There are a couple of songs I do think are semi-duds in the track list, yes, but I am still feeling a light to decent 8 on this thing. Loved it. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Purple Mountains, David Berman, forever.